All right, guys, it is 5 in the morning and I'm dealing with an excruciating cavity right now. Probably because I spent so much of my life smoking crack and licking prostitutes' assholes. And I just want to say, for any family members that may be watching this, I'd just like to apologize. I'm sure it's just as embarrassing for you to hear me say shit like that as it is for me to say it. But as a quote go, I'd rather be hated for who I am than loved for who I'm not. I'm an ass licker. So what? I know, it's embarrassing. I'm sorry. Someday my kid's gonna watch this and be like, what the fuck? My dad was a scumbag. Well, I'm not trying to jinx myself. I'm definitely gonna be alive to see that. I am working very hard to walk the straight and narrow now that I have a child, because really, you know, all joking aside, once you have a kid, you try not to do stuff like that anymore. I haven't licked a prostitute's ass for years. My child saved my life. Let's get into the story. The fuck? For all you guys that isn't it always funny when like people comment, they're like, enough with the voices, enough with the jokes. I watch every one of your videos and I don't like them. It's like, that's fucking how I do it. I don't know. If you don't, I mean, you don't have to watch it. This one will eventually make it onto YouTube. This is going to be the final Centinela video. Well, we still have like the Wasco stuff. And strategically, at a certain point, I was like, all right, I'm going to run out of prison stuff. I got to save at least one section that I can revisit at a later point. But if you like my content, check out Patreon. The link is below. I put up a lot of videos on there. I don't know how many, probably like over 60 or 70 exclusive story videos. There's a lot of content on there. As the documentary gets closer, I'm putting more and more footage up, putting different cuts so that people can tell me their thoughts on it. So people kind of get an organic feel as the film is unfolding. And we're getting a lot done every day. I'm excited about it. And there's something else. Paul Project. I've been really preoccupied right now with my documentary because I'm really trying to get it done so that I can actually release it. But a while back, I did assign Joe Hamblin, the guy that's been sending books and stuff out, the guy that's squared up all the shit that I'd gotten disorganized with. Solid guy, and he's going to be the president of my nonprofit. Because of COVID, everything with LegalZoom, when they file for the Secretary of State stuff, and then there's a federal filing that you have to do, and we have to like send them pretty much our concept. It's like a business plan for what the nonprofit is. So there's still some work, but we're getting our ducks in a row to make that a reality. And that's something that I am actually very proud of once we get it going, because I know that that'll save people's lives. And going through the documentary, it's amazing how many people that were extremely close to me are not with us anymore. And I think that it will give me some comfort and relief knowing that the last 20-year train wreck of my life actually had a purpose to save other people. Whether that be watch my documentary and be like, man, that guy's not even fuckable. I don't want to be like him. And then you decide not to smoke crack, which then you won't have cavities like I do. Or because my Narcan starts getting distributed nationally for free, it's the kind of thing where I know for a fact, because I've had Narcan and I've saved lives. I've had Narcan administered on me and it saved my life. I know that it's something that will actually save lives. So because of my cavity, I want to wrap up this Centinela series. I don't know how long it's going to be, but this is the final story, at least for this part of it. So here we go. Please like, comment, subscribe. Sorry for the introduction. It's hard for me to talk right now because of my cavity, so I'm trying. I'm really trying. So you guys have something to wake up to on Patreon. So where we had left off last time, you know, I'd been at the 1 yard for probably about 2 or 3 weeks at this point, maybe not that long. They had changed my release date. So I think originally I was going to go home maybe in May. And now my release date got changed to March 25th. And there's all sorts of shit that's happening at Centinela at that time. California Department of Corrections had started implementing this mix of population, PCGP. And I kind of got stuck in the whirlwind of that, or it was war. I felt like I was in Braveheart. All the PCs had like shit smeared on their face. Like, I'm a piece of shit, I don't care. Solid guys were like, fuck you, piece of shit. And I don't know. Sorry, it's late. 5 in the morning. And you know all the stuff that I've been through. You know, this is the last one, and I know you guys have asked me not to recap everything, but I have been spreading these videos apart, especially with Patreon, with the different storylines. So, you know, get to Centinela. I'm labeled PC. All the GPs want to kill me. Then I'm on the yard long enough where I am PC. Everybody is on this yard now. Everybody's there is considered no good. I have no idea what would happen if I went back to prison, but I'd imagine that I'd get butt fucked. It's probably not good to imagine stuff like that, but I imagine it all the time. Like, oh my God, it's like a dick around the corner. I really have to, you know, tread carefully at this point. You know, that orientation period where I'd gotten off the bus and got plunged into this war, it really left me, my voice like cracked. Oops. Ryan Leone, victim. It really left me damaged, but it did. You know, I'm freaked the fuck out. I'm scared right now. Beating off right now just for comfort. Like, fuck. I'm really scared right now. Someone walks up on me, and I've talked about it a million times, I get startled very easily. And, you know, this is my 3rd term at this point. I've been around a lot of violence, but I hadn't been around that unsettling feeling where every single day you think you're going to get killed in some mob frenzy with these PCGP riots. And I survived orientation. Really, the irony with that is that I had survived orientation because that guy had come from Santa Barbara. This is the 2nd time that I'd crossed paths with these guys. I mean, the system's not that large. If you're in county jails, you're going to see people in state prison. The federal system's a little stranger, a little more rare. But generally speaking, when you're in county jail, you're around the same faces a lot. You run into them when you're in prison. They came and there was going to be this huge riot with the 2-5ers. And the 2-5ers is, I don't even know how to describe them. They're like the village people of gangs. It's just like a bunch of mutts. You know, there's like Norteños with like Crips, and there's skinheads like playing water polo with Bloods and shit. You know, it's odd. It's just it's a hodgepodge of gang member dropouts. 2-5ers basically run the SMY side. So things get interesting when you're in a mixed yard like this. As I have explained, the one yard that we were at was general population before they started mixing people. Remember, they had brought the digital cameras the day that they brought the bus of SMYs in. They said, hey, if you guys fight, you're going to be recorded. As if that's going to, oh, okay, all right, you guys are recording me, I'm cool. Fuck my principles. You're right. No, that's not what happened at all. It went up in flames. And basically the people that weren't going to comply with that, and there are people like that. I mean, that was ingrained into my mind for so fucking long. Can't be anything with SMY, you know? You can't even make eye contact with them. You make eye contact with them, you like fucking blurt out someone's name that sold you drugs. You're like, Bobby! You're like, what? You're like, you sold me meth. Just by making eye contact, you become a scumbag PC person. So, eventually, this one yard that I was at became harmonious. I know that sounds weird, you know. Kind of reminds me of some, like, toga-wearing Greek utopia or something. Basically, everybody just got along at this place. But then, as we talked about, and what always fucking happens in prison, no matter how harmonious, weird way to describe prison, no matter how calm the waters are, there's always going to be friction that just kind of sparks up. some Southsider accuses one of the two fivers, or he was a green lighter. They have these weird like comic book names. Yeah, Green Lighter, Northern Rider. I'm this, and you're just like, all right. I just want to go home, blinders on, just want to get home to my baby, you know? And I don't think there's anything that's not solid about being a good father. In fact, anybody that chooses the convict life over being a dad, in my opinion, has no cock. I said it. It's true. You know, if you run out on your kid, you're a punk. But it's hard when things like this are brewing up. And basically my best friend in there is a Northern Rider or a Green Lighter, but I get them all mixed up. But he's basically was in a gang before, gets on the SMY side, and now he's in a PC gang. Paper shanking people. Oh yeah? Fucking tell him where your tattoo motor is, bitch. Nah, he was cool. He was solid. And, you know, not to psychoanalyze gangs, but according to like the History Channel and shit like that, the reason the gangs emerge in the first place is because the people that are in gangs are missing like a family dynamic. You know, they don't have a family, so they basically need gang members to tell them that, hey man, you're my brother. Like, all right. I don't feel abandoned anymore. Let's go commit crime. And like give each other a high five. And this guy, my best friend in there at the time, he'd been SNY for a while, but he'd been fucked over and he didn't have family. You know, in a lot of ways, I can understand where it's hard to shake the gang thing. You know, he was finally accepted for once in his life. Like, let's go tag at church. He's like, fuck yeah, I love my family. You know, and they go do whatever they're gonna do. And then he goes to jail, and I've talked about it. And someone not only boned his baby mama, what an immature way to say that his baby mama slept with one of his fellow gang members. But not only did she fuck him, she got pregnant by one of his brothers or whatever, you know, and he wasn't cool with that. So he tries to buck against the gang and he ends up getting fucked off over and over again, getting beat up to the point where he has to go on to the SNY side. And you come across people like that. Like you come across some people that are really tough. Generally, from what I've seen, the people that were GP that are now SNY are dope fiends. You know, I knew this guy. He was one of the craziest people I've ever met in my life. Hardcore. Like if you farted, he'd just knock you out, take your tooth out, wear it as a necklace. Not to that degree, but he had a very short fuse. He'd knock people out. This guy knocked out like 8 or 9 people when I was at Wasco. And the reason that he was SNY, he was at like a 4-yard. I think he was at, may have been at, I don't know, one of those famous prisons, San Quentin. I think he was at New Folsom. He was on the 4-yard there, and he had the keys for the yard. He was the shot caller for the Whites. He's the best tattoo artist that I've ever seen in prison. This guy was ridiculous, and he had worked at a shop, but the work that he could do was incredible. Ran up a debt for heroin, and he ends up tattooing on a black guy. And you're not supposed to do that. You know, they have these like really catchy, like racist phrases that they say. Like, man, you fucking tattoo on a black fool, poof, you got an afro, dog. You're like, all right. Yeah. No, for real, man. And they like really think that. Oh yeah, man. You drink behind that, you'll go primate, man. Yeah, I had a cousin that did that. Hair grew out of his asshole. Looked like a goddamn black, you know? And you'd hear people talk like, what the fuck? So this guy ends up tattooing on the black guy, and they came to take him off the yard. And now this guy wasn't a bitch. He wasn't just like, okay, I fucked up, I'll go. He fought back. He got beat up. Put him in the shoe, and he's S&Y for life, and that's that. You know, so it's not all pieces of shit. Probably like 98% pieces of shit, but occasionally you will find someone S&Y side that's a decent person. My best friend in there was one of them. But because he had this solidarity to this gang, and because I was like his best friend, and your best friend in jail is not like your best friend on the street. The only thing you do with them is work out and make top ramen spreads. But you're still best friends. Forever. He kind of like thought that because he was in this gang and because I was such good friends with him, that I automatically would have to be involved with this S&Y GP drama that had been brewing, because I believe a Southsider had accused one of the S&Y gang members of cheating. And they were playing pinochle. Very, very common source of conflict in jail. Pinochle. Shit like that. Games. Gambling. It's always going to be some bullshit that pops off because of stuff like that. So I had that going on. Plus, the whole time that I'm on that 1 yard, as we know, we're getting kites from Chewy. Hey, they're coming to fuck your ass up. You know, that guy. And then we got this Paisa Southsider looking Luigi guy, and he tells us that, yeah, you know, this big busload full of people came and they're coming to get me. Namely, the guy from Santa Barbara County Jail knew that I was at Centinela on the 1 yard, and he wanted to get me. It was like a torpedo mission. So I had all of this going, and I know that I'm about to get out. Karina and I are having phone conversations where she's starting to get worried, you know, and I know I talked about this in the other videos, and there'll be people that are like, you're repeating the same shit. But you got to understand that, like, my last month there or so, there was a lot of this kind of repetitive shit. There was, okay, this riot's going to pop off. Okay, now the unit's getting hit. Now I'm getting on the phone with Karina, and she's getting increasingly more anxious that I'm going to get out and become a crack smoker, lick a prostitute's ass. She's like, you're going to get out, you're going to smoke crack, and your dick's going to stink, and then all you'd be good for is licking hookers' assholes. I'm like, Spot on. She was worried about me smoking weed. She was worried about me smoking cigarettes, you know. For almost a year now, she'd been watching our son. She wasn't smoking cigarettes. She wasn't drinking. She wasn't smoking weed. She wasn't doing anything. And she didn't realize that every night in there, I was smoking hash or wax or whatever the fuck it was. Some black goo that we would smoke on razor blades with our little tutor. And we get intergalactic, you know, make robotic movements because we'd be that stoned. And it was helping me. It was helping quell some of the PTSD symptoms that were definitely starting to emerge more than before. You know, I was getting way more jumpy. Sometimes I shit when I fart. I was scared. And I have all this going on, and then we get to where the last video had ended. We find out that some people are coming onto the yard, and I go out there with the welcoming committee. Now, we had various false flags at this point. You know, oh, today's going to be the day. Hey, they're coming. You better watch out, you know. So it had like a real, like, villainous vibe. Like, you know, the mean people are coming to the yard, and they want blood. Specifically, they want Leone's blood. I don't know why this guy wanted to get me. There was a good chance it was because, you know, it's retaliation for when I was in the drunk tank and I kicked that guy that was on the bench. Now, you know, I mean, in retrospect, that was a dope fiend kind of piece of shit move that I did, but so what? So what? Think about what they did to me. So now, here I am, welcoming committee. I'm at the bleachers. And we see the guy come in. And he says he's going to stay. Very common in prison. People talk this big, tough game. And then when it comes down to it, they're a bitch. Oh, I don't have my dick, bro. smushed it up and I sent it to my aunt. All that talk about your big old hammer cock and you're not on shit. Now I talked to Dirty and he's like, you want to run it with that guy? You want to get your dignity back? You want to go heads up with him? And I said, yeah, you know, and I wanted to do it where I wasn't going to get caught. The way that this place is there were 2 units. There was a yard in the middle, little chow hall in the far distance, little education room where supposedly they educate you, but Pisces are getting their dick sucked by like Paisa punks. I heard, I don't know, rumor. No, I don't know. It wasn't a real education though. You know, it's one of the things in prison. They say they offer all these educational and vocational rehabilitative things. They don't do shit. You come out worse. That's a fact. Where the unit that I was living in, you know, is barrack style, like the military, brick building. On the other side of it, there were clotheslines, you know. People would hand wash their clothes in buckets. Like you could buy Tide and shit off commissary or in the packages, and then you'd look like a girl from the 1700s, like washing clothes in a fucking creek. You're sitting there and you're like washing your skid marks off, like over a little property bin. You know, like your hair up in a bun and shit. I don't know. I always paid people to do my shit. But anyway, they had these laundry lines that were behind the building. And after you scrubbed your shit, your clothing in this property bin, you would take your wet clothes and you would go and you would drape them on the laundry lines. You'd also do that with your sheets and everything. Get all the cum stains out of there. Everybody beats off in prison. Unless you're a weirdo. I don't know if Chewy did. Oh man, this feels fucking bomb. Love photocopied pornography. So that was the place to do it. And there had been fights there where people had gotten away with it. You know, it was very like, felt like I was, oh yeah? Meet you at the flagpole at 3, bitch. It felt like that, but it was a little more complicated. Hey, I'll meet you behind the building when the guards aren't looking, right by the clotheslines, and we can duck below the window and we can fight while we're crouching. It was like some Mortal Kombat shit. So that was the plan. I was going to go fight this guy right there. Now, protocol at this place is when they say they're going to stay. Like I said, there's a lot of times when you're like, hey, are you going to stay on the yard? They'll be like, fuck that. Throw their shit down and start fighting right there and then. It's usually over within a few seconds, and the cops let you get it for free because you are looked at as the victim, as I've said a million times. I am repeating myself, but what happens is after they say they're going to stay, the welcoming squad, the people that are outside of the bleachers that ask if you're going to stay, will grab their property. They'll be like, oh, you're in B14? Okay, let me take you there. It's really corny. You feel like you're in some like 80s like Marine movie or something. Now, I knew I was going to fight this guy. Dirty knew it. And he's a solid guy. He's the kind of guy where he's not going to make a big commotion about it. He's just going to basically tell this guy, hey, Leone wants to go heads up with you. You fucked him over in Santa Barbara County Jail. He's going to run it with you. But he's not going to, you know, it's not going to be the kind of thing where he's like, yo, fight, come here. Leone's going to get beat up by this dude. It wasn't anything like that. So these guys, they have to go in this building. After they get off the van and they have all their belongings, they have to go into this building. And the building, they make you squat and cough. And there's like this like super metrosexual. He looked like one of the highway patrol officers in Chips. He had this goofy, so he wore like aviators. He's like, all right, man, pants off. He's like, has like some like pink whistle. He's like blowing it while you're stripping. Really, really odd. Like, you're like, damn, this dude's checking me out. I'm trying to like, you're like doing your hair. Like, squat, how? He's like, just squat and cough, man. Protocol. Like, okay, anyway. You go through there. You get strip searched. I think they make you go through an x-ray. Then you come back out and you have all your property from orientation. And then somebody in the welcoming committee will carry your stuff and bring you to the unit. So that whole process is about, I don't know, 20, 25 minutes. And him and my other friend Shredder, Shreds is what we called him. We knew that I was going to fight, but nobody else did. And basically, they said that they'd stand point, which means they'd stand as a lookout, let me get mine, and that's that, you know? And then I don't have to go home with my dick between my legs, you know? And that may not make sense to you after all the shit that I talk. Like, if you're not there for your kid, you're a piece of shit. Well, it's like, well, can't you put your ego away for a second and just walk the line as you've been preaching? I don't know. That's where the great confliction comes in, because in prison, really all you have is your ego. You know, they say you have your balls and your word, but you also have your ego, you know, and the ego is something that you always have to protect, you know, and that might be something that being institutionalized does to you. It was just the kind of thing where they had fucked me over so badly at this place. After I bought them the dope, the packages, all that, and then they just smashed me out kind of arbitrarily, you know. It's like, just because they were, well, not arbitrarily, they smashed me out because they were greedy and they wanted the dope for themselves. And there was no way that I was just going to let this guy do that. So, comes out, Dirty goes up to him, and he goes, "You're staying, right?" Guy's like, yeah. You can tell he's kind of spooked because, well, Dirty's kind of a big guy. Kind of looks like Bruce Willis, Die Hard era, but more tattoos. Definitely more, it's more like a convict than Bruce Willis did. And, hold on, man. You smoke, Well, I need to quit smoking anyway. So, Dirty asked him, "So, you're going to stay, right?" He's like, "Oh, yeah." He's like, "Well, check it out. There's one caveat to that. You fucked my friend over." And he's like pointing at me, and the guy is looking at me with these wide eyes. Like, it's the kind of thing where I think he thought that he was going to get ambushed by us. And Dirty's like, "Look, none of us are going to jump you. None of us are going to put hands on you, but you got to run it with dude. I mean, that's just what needs to happen, you know? He's my boy, and if you're not going to let him get his back after what you did to him, that cowardly move, then we will put hands on you. So basically, you can fight all three of us, or you can just go heads up with him." Now, this guy was the classic wolf pack mentality guy. Real tough with his friends, real tough when they were jumping me and broke my ribs. But now that he's getting called out, and it's just going to be me one-on-one with him, you can tell that he's freaked out. Plus, I've been working out, you know. I'm in pretty good shape at the time. You know, I'm doing 10 sets of pull-ups, 10 sets of dips, and I'm doing 500, sometimes 1,000 push-ups in a day. And, you know, you build that up when you're in prison. You know? I don't know if you're not a guy that works out, that probably sounds like a lot, but if you've done time, you know that that's pretty standard. So you can tell he's scared. Dirty's carrying his stuff. And we walked behind this building. It was real classic. It was like, felt like I was in the movie Footloose or something. And he kind of just puts his hands up. He's arching his back. You can tell that he's scared for sure. And I just look at him. He's looking at me. It's like that awkward, like, little prelude before a fight. I rush him. As soon as I get up to him, he goes like this. Doesn't even try to fight back. Just start hitting him. Hit him maybe 5, 6, 7 times. Dirty's standing there on the side of the building. Shreds is like even further back than him. He's not even watching it, you know. It's just basically he's standing point, making sure that I don't get caught. I don't know. I probably hit him 8 times in total. Hit him in the head a bunch of times while he's going like this. He's basically curling up in a ball. He isn't fighting back. Dirty's calling him a bitch, too. He's like, "Hey, bitch. At least hit him back. You're not going to do anything? You're all tough now, aren't you?" Got him in a couple body shots, and that's it. Pretty pretty much beat him up. He wasn't bloody or anything. You know, he had his hand up, and I'm not somebody that enjoys fighting. I've never liked violence, but it's the kind of thing where I just had to get my dignity back. You know, I had to get my dignity back in Santa Barbara County Jail. I had to get my dignity back there. Funny thing is, after I gave him a couple body shots just to finish it off, you know, I gave him a couple good kidney shots. I saw that he had definitely, you know, lost his wind. Got the wind knocked out of him. He kind of hobbles away, and he does the classic where he acts like he's going to go in the unit, and then he just starts running in the other direction and runs right back to the place where he got strip searched. Dude went and rolled it up right there. You know, and it was basically one of the one and only fights that I've won in jail. You know, not an exciting fight, kind of anticlimactic kind of thing where I was just, like I said, getting my dignity back. And as soon as I was done, he just ran up to the fucking place where he got strip searched, and he went and rolled it up. Said he couldn't be there. We had told him on the way over there, Dirty said that when he had the choice to fight me, that after we fought and just got a fair one-on-one, that was it. You know, it was squashed. I just wanted to handle it. Wanted to, well, I'll use a fancy prison term. He said that Leone just wants to catch his wreck with you, and that's what I did. And did I feel better after that? Yeah, a little bit. You know, it was degrading. The whole experience of being scooped off the floor by the cops in Santa Barbara County Jail, you know, having to kick the Suboxone with my ribs broken, you know, basically being labeled no good when I was, you know, I never did anything that I consider not being solid. You know, I never rolled it up over a dead. I always held my mud in my cases. You know, I always kept my mouth shut. And I'm not a chomo. I say that when I'm doing job interviews. Like, do you have any skills? I'm like, I'm not a chomo. So what? Hired. No, I never get hired. Fucking felony. So that was that with him. You know, it was pretty boring fight. It was like the equivalent of watching golf on TV. I hit him maybe 8 times in total, maybe even less than that. And the guy didn't even fight back. He just put his hand up and he just kind of took it like a bitch. I can happily say that I got him, and I kicked the dude at Santa Barbara County Jail in the drunk tank. So I got 2 of those guys. There's a number of them, and I'll probably run into some of them when I'm lurking around Santa Barbara. And I don't know if I would fight them now that I'm out of jail. You know, now that I have my son, I'm not trying to live that life anymore. I guess the only reason that I did that was because I was in this state of like ego confusion. You know, I'd like look at myself in the mirror and be like, am I a bitch? And just let these guys do that to me. But, you know, looking back in hindsight, there was not much that I could do about it. You know, I got jumped and they held me down and they kicked me in the ribs. I broke my ribs. After that happened, I got knuckle checked. You know, obviously the guy went and said that he got beat up, and they took me into an office and they took pictures of me and everything. My knuckles were all swollen. They knew that I fought. The lieutenant that asked me about it, he asked me what happened. And I just said I didn't have a comment. And he just said, you know what, Leone, you're going home in a few weeks. Just go home, man. Didn't write me up or anything. Knew that I fought. Didn't get in any trouble for it. So now I'm back in my unit. And, you know, my dick grew a couple inches because I actually want to fight. And now I have to deal with the fact that the SNY and GP are having problems. You know, and I basically told Dirty at that point, I said, look, man, you know, I love you. We work out. We make ramen spreads together. But I can't be involved with PC gang shit. You know, I don't consider myself PC. And if something cracks off, you know, if you're getting beat up and it's like something where it's like 2-on-1 or something and you're getting jumped, of course I'll jump in, but I'm not going to automatically jump. And he said that he understood that. I kind of made it clear before anything was going to happen. And it resolved itself, because that happens sometimes when there's friction in prison, whether it be federal, whether it be state, whether it be county jail. Things can start brewing and they can work themselves out. I wasn't involved with any particular side. Like, I wasn't going to little Southsider meetings, and I wasn't part of any PC gang. So I don't know exactly what happened, but I know that the friction eventually dissipated. And I spent the rest of my time working out, nurturing my relationship with Karina, and just getting more and more excited every day before I was set to get out. You know, I started talking to Nick Stahl on the phone, started talking to Jeff, started talking to Jim, and just kind of working on my relationships for when I was getting out. The night before I got released, I mean, you know, it was anticlimactic. I should have stopped this series on the last video. You know, I didn't have to like stretch it out, and I apologize for that, but I don't know what was going on with me that particular time. I think my dick was smushed in an envelope or something. The night that I was set to get out, I remember, just like any night, you know, someone had given me a haircut the night before. I went in the shower and I shaved my balls, and my balls got much, much droopier while I was in prison. I think it's stress related. I don't know. They just kind of hang down. Like, now I have big old fucking marble ball sack that just droops like an ostrich. And I got this little ass root beer barrel sized cock, and it just looks completely asymmetrical, but bomb personality. Got the haircut, shaved everything, got ready to go home. And of course that night, couldn't sleep, stayed up all night listening to my CD player, just thinking about all the different sexual positions I was going to do with my lover, Karina. Thank you, Karina, for being with me on that term, for being so solid. And I thought about what it was going to be like to be a father, you know, and I think that night was a really important night for soul searching, because I looked back on the term that I'd done, and I went through quite a bit on that one. Definitely the kind of shit that's going to stay with me the rest of my life. And I had no idea what I was stepping into. Fatherhood, I knew that that was going to be something that's outside of an adventure. You know, that was going to be, I know this sounds corny, but it was going to be a way of life. Fatherhood was going to be something that I was going to embrace. And I promised myself that night, as I stayed up all night, as I stayed up all night, I promised myself that I would get out and I'd be a good father. And never got any sleep. You know, it's like that every time I get out. You go through these little cycles of like being unconscious, and then you just kind of wake up because you have so much adrenaline coursing through you. Next morning, standard morning of getting out of prison, hug everybody goodbye. And at one point I went up to the cop and I was like, hey, you know, I'm supposed to be getting out. And he goes, yeah, you're not on my list. I think you have a warrant. I was like, what? And of course, my heart was shattered. And then I looked over to all my friends, Dirty, Shredder, all these other guys, and they were all laughing. They'd put the cop up to telling me that I wasn't getting out that night. And that is incredibly fucked up. But I ended up getting out, got out with nothing, you know, just the desire to be a good father and ambition to try to make something with my life. And here I am making videos and telling you all these embarrassing confessional tales about my life. But it's been quite a journey the last year. I started a series on Patreon, What Really Happened Last Year. A lot of stuff that I would say publicly isn't what was really going on. I couldn't possibly talk about it because I was on parole. And even the next day, you know, that I got out was pretty interesting. Some shit cracked off with the people that I rode on the bus with. And perhaps I'll put that series on YouTube after this. But that's my Centinela State Prison. Like I said, I should have wrapped this video up on the last one, but I didn't. I had a cavity tonight, so I figured do a shorter story, but at least get something up for you guys. And I really do appreciate every single person that supported me through the whole journey. Documentary will be coming out soon. Actively working on it, as you've seen, putting the cuts up, and I just want you to know how much I truly do appreciate you guys. Palabra.